breaking down plays every Sunday night. From the den we step to the bar we roll, analyzing film clips, how the story's told. Lions on the rise.
All right, welcome One Pride to episode 4.
Well, technically it'd be -1 because if we're going to label them based off of the season.
That's true, yeah. So welcome to episode -1 of Outside the Den,
Inside the Barn.
The podcast for Lions fans by Lions fans. This is Jake. There's Josh over there sitting between us, cousin Lyle. And we're going into this week in between the preseason and the start of the regular season. And I think we said it last time, but it's about time. So I think we'll briefly just touch on the Houston Texans, the final preseason game against the Houston Texans. Josh and I were not able to go, unfortunately, but I know Lyle, a little pivot here. Lyle, do you want to tell us a little bit about that Texans game?
Yeah, the non-season ticket holder here got a chance to go to the Texans game, and we got to our seats just in time for the beginning of the first quarter. We got to see. I was kind of surprised. Kyle Allen came out there. Not a successful first drive. It was just 2 runs and a sack, so no big deal there. I think Texans go down and kick a field goal, and next drive, Allen perfect, 5 for 5, hits a beautiful moonshot to Tesla. Runs right under it there. Tesla catches it into the end zone. Falls down, perfect form to be able to get up and hit that worm, and there was your highlight right there. Because let me tell you, not much after that. We got after that was the mic drop for Kyle Allen saying I just nailed down that backup position here. Go ahead and bring in Hendon Hooker and find out a little bit about what his last impression here. I guess spoiler alert at that point, but the last impression, at least as far as the preseason goes, and again, it was much of the same. Did not lead the Lions on any scoring drives. Just stop and start. No feel for the game at all. The one time that the Lions and the defense was not playing very well either. And again, we've got all of our backups in there. We're trying to evaluate who do we keep on this roster, especially secondary kind of people. They were rotating in and out, and they weren't really stopping them. They finally get a turnover. Very next play, Hendon Hooker throws one into no man's land, goes well over the receiver's head, right into the safety's hands. Turnover, momentum killed. Pretty much at that point, I think it was still the third quarter. Maybe it was just the beginning of the fourth, but that was pretty much it for the game. And at that point, it's just let's wrap it up. Let's get this preseason done. Lions lose, I think, was it 26-7?
26-7.
Yeah. And it was just a lifeless, no excitement kind of a game. End of the preseason, and it was just kind of okay. We know what we've got here. Let's start to do the evaluation. Let's do the breakdown. Let's figure out who the players are that are coming onto this team, and get ready for Green Bay. So not a lot of excitement. I wasn't expecting a lot. And I didn't get a lot there. It's just one of those games that you have to get through. Hopefully, luckily nobody serious got injured, even, players that would be second, third string, that kind of a thing. Players that stood out, maybe Nowaski a little bit, had a good game. Lawrence Strickland, made a name for himself, but really nobody else in the secondary played very well. That's a wrap.
Yeah, and I mean, it's almost ironic how this game was so uneventful. And really the players that maybe are worth talking about are players that didn't even make the 53-man roster, right? And I think we can talk a little bit more about that. But there's not really any highlights to talk about other than that interception by that one guy who's not even on the team, Tyson Russell. But really it was truly just evaluating the back end of the talent. I think the one thing we can all look at and we can all walk away from saying is, wow, Tesla scores touchdowns, man. Catches with his hands.
Well, real quick about that interception. I got a text from Calvin literally 2 seconds later. That was fun while it lasted.
Seriously, one play. I mean, it was like Hendon Hooker was telling you he didn't want anything to do with this anymore. He was done just as much as I think the Lions were done with him.
Notable, at least according to the box score here, no punt return yards. So it looks like that they barely punted as it was. Yeah, Josh, do you have any final thoughts on the Lions preseason? Obviously, we'll be talking a lot about the 53-man here, some of the cuts being made, or I guess 52-man, spoilers. Yeah. But, we'll be talking a little bit about that. But any final thoughts on the preseason as we go into these roster cuts?
Other than the fact that, we lived through a 4-0 preseason and an 0-16 regular season. So, again, as we've stressed so many times, preseason means nothing. It's a good evaluation period and stuff like that. Some people want the starters out there. Others want to make sure that they're healthy and stuff like that. So, I'm glad it's finally over. We got to get a little break before the real season starts, where we kind of regroup here. And, we have a couple of announcements that we're going to be making about the show. We're moving to a new home in regards to YouTube channel. We'll have new Instagram, new Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it.
Twitter.
We want to call it Twitter.
Yeah. Maybe start a couple podcasts.
If Elon Musk wants to pay me to call it X, I will, but I am calling it Twitter.
Yeah. And then we might have a few surprises that'll show up on this table later on, and hopefully September. Merchandise.
Ooh, look at that! Yeah. Look at that
teaser.
A whole teaser. All right, so.
Montgomery running through the fence and wall. St. Brown catching every single call. Playoff bound now, divisional crown. Been covering his team all around the town. Ford Field rocking crowd on their feet. Podcast popping can't accept.
All right, so we've sat through a pretty uneventful, honestly kind of a slog of a preseason to get through. And it all came down to Tuesday at 4 p.m., which was the deadline to cut down your roster to the 53 player maximum, as well as establish your practice squad, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go through by position group. I'm going to list out who, thank you, shout out Tim 20man on DetroitLions.com. I'm going to go through, I'm going to mention maybe some memorable cuts to that team. Or to that position group. Obviously, it'll take us too long to go through all 90 whatever players that played for the Lions this past season. But, we'll go through that, talk about a little bit about the practice squad after every position. If somebody wants to say something, talk about it, that's fine. And I know that we'll be getting a Breaking Brad phone call at some point, which we'll have to cut out. That's probably make its own section.
Yeah, that's where I was going to say. I think we have a little segment interrupt us right here real quick.
Yep.
Anything we want to say, because we got about 14 minutes to beat him. on the news.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked about the big league shattering news that happened today. Being
literally an
Thursday,
hour
August
before
28th.
we did this. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think we'll talk about that in probably with Brad. I'm sure he'll have a lot to say. So, but let's get.
We broke it before Brad. We didn't actually say it.
Yeah.
But we already know it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I actually.
But act dumbfounded when he calls.
Yeah. I had a buddy of mine. He is, in my opinion, my friend group's Breaking Brad. He always seems to find it.
Oh, speaking
of
Breaking Brad,
real. Come in frame, dude. Come in frame. Come on.
Come over here. Take my seat. Dad's gonna walk in a little bit. Yeah.
Come in frame.
No, you're part of it.
We were literally just talking about you.
Literally, yeah. So,
come sit down.
Surprise! Breaking Brad in person.
Yep. And then that'll cut, and then it'll pop up over here.
What are we talking, Parsons?
We just got ready. Yeah.
We're actually So
that's weird.
So we'll jump right to the Breaking Brad in person. So, all right. So hey, surprise! We have Breaking Brad himself in person. What's up? Hold on. Which one is it? This one. There we go. Look at that. Oh. I knew it. All right, so Brad, before we get into your segment and probably breaking down the 53-man, how are we doing today, man?
Well, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Got my daughter to practice, and
there you go. Yeah.
Thought I'd stop over for a minute.
Hell yeah. So, all right. So, first of all, Brad, is there any breaking news today you'd like to share with us in the audience?
Well, there was a small trade in the NFL.
Just a small one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did it affect the Lions at all? I mean, this is a Lions-centric podcast, so we got to figure out. First off, it's not the Lions involved, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
But does it affect the Lions?
Yeah,
Okay.
it affects the Lions.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear it. What do you got?
All right, so what happened today, Brad? What was this very minuscule trade?
Yes, we all
definitely doesn't
know
affect anything.
about the Micah Parsons trade. It's going to affect the Lions. He's really, really good.
Yep. So defensive end, Micah Parsons, probably the single best player on the Dallas Cowboys, arguably maybe CeeDee Lamb, but Micah Parsons up there. Traded to the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. Shout out Tom Crosby, and for 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark, pretty solid defensive tackle in the NFC North. One of probably in the top 5 defensive tackles in the NFC North, arguably.
Yeah, I'd say that's right.
Pretty good player.
He's
you know,
solid.
not a guy that would generally move the needle on a bad team, but adding depth to a really good team. So, but I think the bigger story, as Brad brought up, is just Micah Parsons. Wow, he's a player, man. He is a player. So I know that I am, I don't think any of us are sitting here quaking in our little boots about Micah Parsons making the Green Bay Packers the best team in the NFC North, although the odds makers may disagree with that. But Brad, how do you feel about this trade? Specifically how it may affect the Lions, how it may affect some of our matchups. We do start the season at Green Bay here in a couple weeks. So,
Yeah, it'll be interesting. My guess is he plays, right?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
There's some back issues apparently, but he, the other part of that is because your question was how is it going to affect the Lions?
Yep.
I mean, long term, it's going to affect the Lions. I think positively because giving up those, they kind of did a Stafford thing that the Lions did here, and they're giving away 2 first-round picks is a big deal. And now, granted, they're going to be good, so it'll be later picks, but I think and the money too is something Brad Holmes just doesn't do. So the biggest effect I think is going to be long term, and I think it's going to be in the Lions' favor because I think this is a reach. I don't think Jordan Love is. I think he's a pack quarterback. I don't see he's ever going to get better than that. So that's kind of the impact I'm looking at here is long term. But for short term, he's a good player. And here's the point I made I think to you, Jake, earlier today.
Yep.
Is if you want to compare Lions and Packers here, they got Micah Parsons now, the Packers.
Yep.
But the Lions didn't have Aiden Hutchinson in any NFC North game the entire season last year. And so now the Lions are gaining Aiden Hutchinson there, and it's really a wash there. And we know what happened last year in both games. So that's my take on that.
Yeah. So before we get to your reaction to that, Lyle, I was talking to a buddy of mine. Our dad was born in Philadelphia, so big Philly sports fan. Obviously enjoyed that Super Bowl this past February, and I was asking his opinion on it because he does enjoy the Lions, but he is not necessarily a Lions fan, right? Doesn't follow the team as close, but he is generally pretty knowledgeable in football, and he does agree that it is a scary addition to a rather good team. But him and I share the opinion that the Green Bay Packers are just a team that's interesting because they have so many B players on their team, right? They don't have a Hutchinson. They don't have a Jared. I mean,
well, they do now.
Well, now they do. Well, they didn't have one, but they don't have like a Jameer Gibbs, although Josh Jacobs is a pretty damn good running back.
Yeah.
They don't have a St. Brown, They don't have as many players that justify these giant, potentially, needle-moving contracts, right? So it makes sense for a team like Green Bay that just, as much as we love to make fun of Matt LaFleur, we have people in our family say he's, a little classless, cut to a GIF, maybe Josh, of him yelling at the fan on, it was a Thanksgiving, right? Down there up by the flag. But at the same time, Packers are still a good team. I just don't see how they lose 10 games and they just continue to be, maybe they don't get it done in the playoffs, haven't in a long time, but they just keep getting there. They keep competing. And I do think Micah Parsons, on any playoff team, definitely makes him a contender immediately because, let's say, we talked about it a little bit before the show. I talked about it with you on the phone. There's maybe 5 players right now that people would say is either better than Hutchinson or at his level. Parsons is one of them. And so, if you imagine just throwing Aiden Hutchinson on any team, it's like, you'd assume that team would be pretty darn good. Yep. Until you look at a team like the Browns or the Raiders who have 2 of those, who each have one of those guys, but, the rest of their team is just so bad that it doesn't kind of matter.
On the other hand, we're gaining Detroit's gaining Hutchinson, and no one's saying that about Detroit. They're saying we took a step back, and we're gaining Hutchinson.
Yeah, switching up the interior of the offensive line and replacing 2 coordinators definitely.
We're getting Hutchinson.
That is true. That is true. And I do remember your prediction for the season on Hutchinson potentially breaking the sack record.
Yeah, I still believe that. If he stays healthy, it's broke this year.
Yep. So, Lyle, I had a phone call with you shortly after me and Brad talked on the phone. Obviously, very aware of this news. What is your take on the Packers acquiring a player like Michael Parsons?
Yeah, and I think that what you were saying was a good synopsis of where the Packers were at when we look at the Lions versus the Packers. The Packers, a lot of B players, solid floor, but the question is about their ceiling kind of a thing. And the Lions, you look at the Lions, and they have some of those top-end talents, people that if you're looking at the top 100 as voted by the players right now, we're right in the middle of the, you're getting players at 13, 15, 20, 55.
23,
You're not seeing those the Packers in there. But now, guess what? You've got a player that hasn't even been put on the list that is on that list now. So now you've got a team that everybody was saying two different styles, Lions and the Packers, going against each other, and there's a question of who is going to come out on top here. And you've suddenly said, okay, now one of these teams where you're thinking one of these styles is going to win, but it's going to be even, is put them – I think that everyone's going to say this is something that puts them over the top. I do think that it's going to be, for the next week or two, you're going to see people that are saying Packers. You're going to see, I can't wait to see Eagles versus Packers in the NFC Championship game. I can't wait to see Parsons going after Jalen Hurts like he did a couple of times in the NFC East, now doing it in the playoffs kind of a thing. Now, do I agree with that? I don't necessarily agree with that right now. I'm still wrapping my head around what happened here. But the fact of the matter is that's going to be the perception there, and it's not necessarily a wrong perception. This is something where I think that people can say, look, the Packers are going for it. They're going for it right now. They think they've got the roster and they've got the cap space, and they were able to make this deal happen. And, yeah, it's going to sacrifice a couple of first-round picks. I don't know how many players they have that they're going to lose as a result of this. It's not the same as putting Micah Parsons on the Lions and then going next year, signing him to he signed a 4-year,
188,
largest non-quarterback contract.
Yeah,
in
I think
history.
136 guaranteed.
120 is what I heard.
Okay.
Yeah,
120.
so it's not the same because of the Lions. You do have to still sign Hutch. You do still have to sign Laporta, and you have to sign Branch and all those. So it doesn't really work there. But what you can say is that for this year, in the next game that's coming is Lions versus Packers. The Packers did something that is going to greatly, exaggerate their odds for winning this game and being competitive with the Lions, who are the NFC North defending champions, and that's who they're going against. So that's who they're trying to match up with. And it's, to me, this is a big bummer for me. I did not want to see Micah Parsons. I knew it was a chance. I knew Jera was screwing this up from the get-go here, and I just said, not the Packers, man. And here we are. We're living it again, and we're going to have those cheeseheads sitting out there saying, it's our time again. And I don't want it to be their time. It was just their time not that long ago. It's the Lions' time now. So we'll see how it happens.
You know what? It's only going to last one game.
we
and then
hope.
you take them down, and then, you get to lord it over them again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good job. We'll see you at the end of the season.
Yeah. So, So just double checking some of the sports books. This definitely moved the needle as far as Vegas things. I just generally use ESPN Bet for this stuff. Not that I'm on that sports book, but the Packers probably behind the Rams, I would say, as far as Super Bowl winning. The Lions are currently at a plus 1,000 to win the Super Bowl. Currently the fifth best odds. Green Bay is creeped up to plus 1,400, which means that I'm assuming they were below plus 2,000, which is pretty good.
What are they ranked? Sixth?
Sixth.
They're right behind the Lions.
Right behind the Lions, yep. So right in front of the Bengals, right behind the Lions. And then if we look down to NFC North, according to ESPN Bet, they have the Lions and Packers tied at plus 185 to win the North. Vikings at plus 350, Chicago Bears, I'm surprised, is plus 475. I thought they'd be a little lower. I mean, you have the Lions who were a 15-win squad last year. You have the Minnesota Vikings who were a 13-win squad or 14-win squad, but they do have essentially a rookie quarterback this year. And then you have the Packers adding Micah Parsons on top of being a playoff team themselves. So I think we can all agree on, no matter what, to what extent is I think where we'll argue and bicker. But Micah Parsons, God, it's going to suck seeing him twice a year, potentially 3 times a year, depending on how that wild card weekend pans out.
I still don't think he can catch Gibbs.
There's only a handful of edges who I could, and he's one of them. So I don't know if he will, but he could.
Producer break-in.
Yep.
Keep in mind, Parsons isn't only playing the Lions in the NFC North.
That's true.
What impact is he going to have on the Bears and the Vikings?
That's true. Yeah, and fellow host and producer and editor Josh does make a good point right there. We obviously we're Lions-centric podcast. We're really just a bunch of big Lions fans talking for fun. But, Micah Parsons will be playing the Chicago Bears, a team that still has not produced a quarterback that can throw for 4,000 yards or 30 touchdowns, as well as the Minnesota Vikings, who, as Lau brought up, I think a couple weeks ago, if not last week, was, they also, I think, and the Packers both shaked up the interior of their offensive line, lost some guys, have to fill in some gaps. So you're putting a lot of pressure on those tackles, although I'm a big fan of Darisaw for the Vikings. I think he's a stud before he got hurt last year. But, so, I mean, the Green Bay Packers are still going to be a problem. They're always a problem no matter what, unless Kirby Joseph is in Lambeau. Then generally it's like don't throw in the middle of the field. But yeah. So how do you think? I think Micah's going to do pretty darn good against some of those other NFC North opponents. But what do you guys think that impact is going to be? Just introducing let's be honest, probably a top 10 player in the NFL into our division, which sucks. So
I just think, again, you get a move of that magnitude. I think of things like happened when the Packers got Reggie White, and suddenly it was, okay, now we've got the quarterback and we've got the defensive end. We got, the leaders on both sides of it, and they went on to have a pretty dominant stretch there. Now, again, the questions are about Jordan Love. Is he that kind of quarterback? I don't think he is. He's not a Favre. He's not an Aaron Rodgers in his prime. Yep. But as far as the defense goes, this is somebody that can be a leader that they can rally around. There's questions about Micah's maturity, some of the ways that he acted even during this standoff he had with the Cowboys and stuff. So you got to wonder about that. But there's no questioning his talent. And if you've got that, you've got a few other pieces over there we were talking about earlier. You've got Rashawn Gary on the other side now. So you've got those bookends that I think the Lions fans have been crying for a while here. Yeah. You've got Edgerrin Cooper on the linebacker squad. You've got Xavier McKinney back at safety.
Quay Walker.
Quay Walker.
Missing a couple brain cells, but one of the most athletic linebackers.
Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah.
Lucas Van Ness is – he hasn't developed the way that I think they wanted him to, but he could still be a player for them, especially if he just gets into a rotational role instead of being one of the main guys. They're a formidable team, and it was tough last year with the Vikings neck and neck there with the Lions pushing them the whole way, and I feel like now that's the Packers' role here when we get going forward. They're going to be pushing the Lions hard, and it's going to start week 1.
Yeah, and I think you're the one who said that, Lyle, a couple of weeks ago, but when we were talking about maybe predictions, but it's just every time we think the Vikings are going to be bad, they just end up being pretty darn good. So, and I'm starting to feel like the Vikings are going to be bad, which what does that mean? They're probably going to be competing for the – oh, my Lord. Man, crazy stuff today, there was bound to be some crazy trade that gets us all buzzing, gets, the socials popping off, but wow.
I thought it was the Tim Patrick trade. I thought,
right. So, hey, don't be spoiling yourself too much. Sorry. All right. So, any final thoughts on Micah Parsons, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, he's a. It's going to be interesting how bad his back is, right? Yeah. Lyle was just saying before, this is kind of a surprising trade, right?
Yeah.
Is that back worse than people realize, or something like that? I mean, I doubt that's the situation, but will he be there week 1? I'm sure he will, but there's a chance he won't be. And then he hasn't been, playing. So, there could be an acclimation there too. So I would guess he might be on a limited snap count for that first game too. So that could be an aspect where give the Lions, but the Lions are going to be. I mean, knock on wood, there's nothing in practice, but they're through preseason and they had no major injury really.
There's wood behind on the green screen right there if you want to knock on that.
You definitely want to do that.
Oh,
yeah. So,
but anyway, so right now it's it's going to be a great game, that first game. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the watch party at the barn.
Here it comes. Everybody, get ready to knock here.
Instead of a shot ski, it's just a piece of wood. Right. But yeah, so and then Josh, here's your YouTube short for you. So for Lions fans like myself who are clamoring for a bookend opposite of Hutchinson, this is why we can't go get a player like Micah Parsons. And Brad will nod his head and agree to this because we've had many conversations like this. The Lions have hit too many draft picks. 2 seasons ago they hit on Exactly. Gibbs, top 3 running back in football. Sam Laporta, probably one of the 2 best young tight ends in football. Could be a league, one of the best in the league, right? You have Brian Branch, who I think is going to be an all-pro this year. That guy's a stud. And then you have Jack Campbell, who is our defensive leader going into this last year of kind of Anzalone leading this defense because we're most likely not going to get him back, although I heard a rumor about maybe potentially extending him in the season. But regardless.
And they got Muhammad that draft, I think, too, in like the 6th round, and he's really your number 1 backup right now at the edge.
Undrafted free agent, but yeah.
Oh, undrafted.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I didn't realize.
But still, yeah. So, I mean, they hit on these picks. You obviously have Sewell and Amon-Ra that kind of helped to kickstart this Lions renaissance we're seeing. But, these are guys who are playing so well that if we want to keep them, we deserve these contracts. And I do have an interesting point to bring up when we talk about the wide receivers, when we touch on the 53-man. But the reason why we can't get a player like Micah Parsons is we want to pay these other guys. We already have our Micah Parsons and Aiden Hutchinson. And if you want to go and get a guy like Micah Parsons, you want to go get a guy like Max Crosby, a guy like Myles Garrett, some of my favorite players in the league, you got to give up 2 to 3 of these other young talent that we're growing at home that we're drafting. So you either got to pick, you pick a top edge rusher or you pick all these other players. And the biggest thing is, trading for Micah Parsons is a win-now move. The Lions and Brad Holmes are on the record to say that is for sustained excellence, for sustained success going into future seasons. Excuse me for the burp. So that's why we can't get Micah Parsons. That's why we couldn't get Max Crosby or Myles Garrett. We can't afford to shell out that money because we got to go break the bank to sign Hutchinson because, I mean, yeah, did he get injured after 4.5 games last year? Yeah, was he on? Yeah, he did. But damn, that guy, he had 7.5 sacks in 4.5 games. That's not, I mean, there have been players who have done that, but man, he was by and far. I mean, Trey Hendrickson led the league with 13.5, and he did half of that in a quarter of the games, a third of the games.
Yep.
Crazy. All right, so we talked about, shout out to Breaking Brad, in-person segment today. Let's go.
Lions on the rise, not the same old crew. Golf sling and pass is what we always knew. Sewell on the line, Hutchinson with force. Campbell's got the plan, staying on. Outside the den, inside the barn. This is our time. This is our turn.
But yeah, we're going to talk about the 53-man roster. Big news, for all of us, what we've really been waiting for after this slog of a preseason we were kind of forced to watch. But yeah, so we are now down to a 53-man, or actually really a 52-man, as we still have one open spot right now. But yeah, so a quarterback, honestly, not much of a surprise. Starters Jared Goff. Currently, only one other quarterback on roster, and Kyle Allen won the backup spot. The really only cut there, obviously, Hendon Hooker. They only had 3 quarterbacks in camp. Do you guys have an opinion on the quarterbacks we're keeping? Surprised on the Hendon Hooker cut at quarterback?
Yeah, we talked about that the other day. So yeah, I'm surprised that they cut him. I thought they would, and now he's been claimed as,
he wasn't actually claimed on the waivers. He did sign as a practice squad player with the Panthers, so he could have at that point chosen any team. I guess the question is, Did the Lions want him? Did he not want to come back to this?
Right.
But in any case, that was where he ended up going.
Yeah,
So-
and a change of scenery could do him well. He's now on a team where their starting quarterback and their captain is Cam Ward, who was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. So a unproven rookie, but a hungry rookie. So there is a
No, that's Bryce Young.
He's
oh, Carolina.
Panthers,
I was
yeah.
thinking Tennessee.
Yep.
Look at that. Everyone dunk on me. That's your dunk on Jake there.
Dunk on Jake.
Yep.
Moment of the
Windmill.
week there.
Shout out to Brad, senior year of high school, dunking on people. But yeah, so no other thoughts on quarterback. Honestly, not really surprised.
The only thing I want to bring up is that, like I said, we were in the top 100 players in the NFL as voted on by the players there.
Yeah.
Jared Goff, number 15. I mean, how outstanding is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were thinking he was, 41 or something, 45 last year, and then he wasn't showing up on the 30s or the into the 20s. And we're like, wow, they left Jared Goff off after he had what seemed like a tremendous year. No, they didn't leave him off. The NFL recognized he's a player. I mean, top 15 player in the NFL. That's pretty awesome for somebody that was almost considered a throw-in Stafford trade.
And 2 noticeable NFC quarterbacks. I think there's really only 2 quarterbacks that have a claim to being a better quarterback in the NFC than Jared Goff. Jalen Hurts, who was in the 20s, and Matt Stafford, who I think was in the 50s. So right there, probably the only 2 guys that I would dare say are better than Jared Goff, or at least at his level in the NFC.
Yep.
Already picked way behind him. So
Yeah.
I think that's a testament to how well he's played. I think the league is seeing and really respecting him as a player, and it's really showing how the impact he's making on this Lions team. I mean,
If you watch the St. Brown podcast, though, he doesn't give a lot of respect to that list. So
no, he does not.
just how it's done.
Yeah.
So. But no, that was good.
They did leave Brian Branch off, so there's definitely something wrong with that list.
Yeah,
That's true. That is true. I mean,
I would say I'm pretty certain there'll be a top 10 Lion next year.
oh yeah.
And I can tell you who it's going to be too.
Definitely Aiden Hutchinson for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. But I was hoping Penny would get into the top 10. Or Josh
I don't know if
Hutchinson.
Jared Goff will make the top 10.
I
but
don't think so. He'd have to throw for like.
he'd have to be
5,000.
MVP.
He'd have to be the MVP to do
Yeah.
it. But I think Hutchinson. I think Hutchinson.
Jameer would be the other one I would think.
Yeah,
that could
he
have a
would
chance
have
there.
to play like Saquon to do it. I mean, I personally Saquon's my number 1 pick for the top player going into this year. I mean, he was just electric. But so
Hard to argue that one. But I always got to say Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I really think he is the best player in the NFL.
So,
Josh Allen, just for the record.
That's
mine.
So
Man,
Yeah,
he's number 2 if he's not number 1. So.
quarterbacks are such a lame pull for that, but that's okay.
I know. It is what it is.
All right, so now let's get to a strength on our team as we continue on the 53-man roster. Running backs, I think no surprise, number 1, number 2, fairly interchangeable, although I think Gibbs has established himself as the starter this year going into week 1. But Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, fan favorite, definitely house favorite here in the Tkachuk barn. Craig Reynolds.
Craig.
Exactly. And then Sion Vaki, probably one of our, a project player, but one of our best special teams guys. 2 noticeable cuts right there, or really only 1 noticeable cut that I want to mention is Jacob Saylors. I think he had some pretty nice runs in the preseason, but ultimately when you have a running back room that has Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, 2 running backs who are starting caliber, there's just really not room. And you have a culture guy in Craig, you have a special teams demon in Sion Vaki. But, yeah, do you guys have any thoughts on the running back? I mean, I feel like we're going to hit a theme here where it's not going to be too surprising on some of these cuts, but just how you analyze that running back room.
Well, I'll just say this. We know what Gibbs and Montgomery is, and I think they're going to continue to be what they are. But there is some changes to that offensive line, and I'm just curious how that's going to look. Because, Gibbs is going to miss a game or 2. Montgomery's going to miss a game or 2. And Craig Reynolds or Vaki's going to have to step in there. And if you watch the preseason, they weren't finding many holes in the middle there, and they were bumping it to the outside. And they did a pretty good job with that. But it's just going to be interesting to see how successful they are with Parsons on the field and, just a little bit lesser of an offensive line. I'm not going to say it's a huge – I mean, it is a huge loss with Reg now, but it's not going to be the same offensive line is what I'm trying to say. And I have confidence in Montgomery finding a hole. I mean, you see that guy rip through They're all 11 guys and keep going. But Gibbs is just so fast.
He put Weatherspoon into the dirt, who's arguably the best nickel.
That Seattle run was incredible.
Yeah.
But again, how are these backups? And because the Detroit obviously really needs a good run game, and I just think that's my thoughts with that. I know it has nothing to do with who was cut. I'm just saying who's still on the roster.
I think right there, before we get to Lyle's opinion, I think once again, not surprised on the cuts, because I think generally the 4 guys there, where no one's disappointed with that. I mean, other than the guys who got cut, right? But Lyle, your thoughts on the running back room?
Yeah, it just, like you said, no surprises there. It's a very solid group of 4. I wish that I would have seen a little more of Vaki in the preseason. He was dinged up a little bit, just never really was able to shake it off, kind of a thing. But I do think he has a lot of potential there. So I think, it was just one of those things where if you're one of the running backs that they brought in, and they had a couple that they cut early on in training camp or got injured, and then at the end you had Sailors, and you had Deion Jackson, who I'm not even sure where he's from. Sailors did a great job. I think he did get signed to the practice squad. Spoiler on that, but he definitely deserved that. He looked like a hard runner, somebody that. Here he comes. Exactly what we expected from that group of running backs there.
Yep. So, all right, let's transition to wide receiver right now. Tim 20-man has 6 wide receivers kept when we know it was really only 5. So, I think to nobody's surprise, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, top 2 receivers on the team. You have return specialist, solid gadget receiver, and Khalif Raymond on the team as well. And you have 2 rookies making the 53-man. You have Isaac Tesla, 3rd-round pick, as well as Dominic Lovett, 7th-round pick out of Georgia. Noticeable cuts. We have Jackson Meeks, who I think all of us were pretty shocked on that. I don't, we can talk a little bit more about it. I do have a take on that, but Jackson Meeks showed out. He was I think he had the most amount of receiving yards, I think, in the preseason out of any wide receiver. You have Ronnie Bell, who made some okay plays. And then I think everyone, at least one guy who's walking around the barn right now is favorite player, Tom Kennedy, unfortunately cut, who we thought was going to be the Lions sack leader this
Meeks
year.
and Kennedy are on the practice squad, so.
Yep. So, so any thoughts on the receiving?
So I'm going to go from the same angle of who they got, and I'm just going to – who is the receiver the Lions drafted and in his first game had like 200 yards a few years ago? Do you guys remember who that is? He ended up being a pretty big wide receiver for him and was with him for a few years and then went to another team. He was their number 1 guy.
I'm going to be honest. I'm blanking right here.
Yeah. He was a 3rd guy at that time because I think they still had
I thought you were going
Kelvin
back to Charles Rogers or something there for a second. But
no. Anyway, there was a rookie wide receiver. His first game, he got 200 yards and a receiving touchdown, wide open. And my thought on that is, in that first game, because, hey, probably a lot of people are surprised Tim Patrick isn't going to be that 3rd wide receiver. And that first game, they don't know this rookie. And my prediction, and I'm dedicating this prediction to Steve Tkachuk, is that Tesla gets 200 yards receiving and a touchdown.
Is that T.J. Jones?
And the first game against the Packers, because they'll be focusing on St. Brown and Williams, and Tesla's just going to knock them out.
Is it T.J. Jones you're thinking of?
No.
Titus Young?
No,
because he was a Lion until he had the law issues.
Galloway. Galladay.
Kenny Galladay.
Yeah. He was the number 1 guy on that team for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And remember his first game, can't remember who they played, because somebody tripped or something, and Stafford had a wide open 50-yard bond to him right there, and he ended up getting 200 yards his first game.
Yeah. The question is, I don't think the question is how many yards did he have. I think the question was how many beers was Brad drinking that night.
Yeah, well, Kenny Galladay, man, 200 yards. No, I don't know. I think they lost that night, though, if I remember right. I have to look that up.
Sounds about right. Somebody has a super game and is all for naught. But,
Yep.
that sounds about right.
And so right before we get to Lyle's take, you did touch on Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick was traded to the Jaguars for a 6th-round pick this week. Once again, reducing that wide receiver room, who we all, I believe, thought was going to be wide receiver 3, but I think they're showing a lot of faith in Isaac Tesla, to kind of step into that role. And I mean, through a couple of preseason games, man, he's looking like he could be the real deal. Maybe even a Puka Nacua type of receiver. But Lyle, wide receiver opinions.
Yeah, I want to start there because what a fantastic preseason Isaac Tesla had. I mean, there was talks when he was drafted that people didn't know who he was. Oh, why are you guys taking a project in the 3rd round and you're trading 2 other 3rd-round picks for it in order to do that? And then he just came out and he's done everything that they've asked of him. So to have the fact that Brad Holmes feels like, okay, we're a Super Bowl team, but we're going to go ahead and trade a trusted wide receiver veteran player because we think that this kid's going to take this to the next level here, really says something for him. So there's that. I've also got the Jackson Meeks side of things where again, it's one of those things. There's always we always get this in preseason. It's somebody that jumps out and people see, what he's doing. They're like, wow, there's no way you can't cut this guy. He's going to get picked up by somebody else. He's too good. You're not going to, and it happens, they say, no, you know what? This is our team. We know what we've got. We're going to go ahead and cut you because we don't think that you're going to get claimed, and we're going to put you on the practice squad. And it's exactly what happened. So,
pretty amazing that they can, I know they're probably gambling a little bit, but they must know, they must have some confidence.
I think they have a solid feel for, if we cut so-and-so, there's a good chance they're not going to get claimed on waivers and somebody's going to put them on the 53. And then we just say, hey, you're going to be on a practice squad. Be on a practice squad with us where you've been training and you know what's going on and you feel good about it. And that's exactly what happened there. So, the theme once again is don't fall in love too much with these preseason darlings because in the end they're going to get cut. They're going to nobody else is going to see them as some sort of gotta have them kind of a person. And then the Lions still have that flexibility to claim some of these other players like we saw happened with the 53-man roster down to the 49-man roster to the current 52.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Quick correction. Kenny Galladay did not – well, first of all, double correction. They did win the game. It was against Arizona.
There you go.
He did not have 200 yards. I had 2 in my brain. He had 2 touchdowns that game in his first game. But he did have 69 yards catching, so a really good first game. So I'll change my prediction. Instead of 200 yards, I think Tesla's going to have 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns.
Right. I like that.
That's probably a little bit more.
Two Tutty Tesla, we'll call him after that, because he needs another nickname. He doesn't have enough.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, Mayotron, Optimus Prime. What was the other one? Just mayonnaise.
No, we had.
He's like mayonnaise.
Coleslaw.
That's right. Yeah, because he's white and he's left out.
He's dangerous if left in the open.
Yeah. All right. So, first of all, once again, before we move on to tight end, we'll talk about Tim Patrick. Super briefly, just a note before we move to tight end. Brad did predict that in our previous episode about potential cuts. He was not cut, but he is no longer on the team. So we are 1 for 1 so far.
The question is, would they have cut him had they not traded him? Because I think they would have saved the same amount of money, either trade or cut. So, because I think he was guaranteed $1 million or something. Or no,
he was
$2
guaranteed
million.
either way. I think, right?
I think,
so they would have had to eat it if he didn't trade.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Trade saved him $1 million. That's what it was. Yep. So, but it'd be interesting if they would have done it. But trading him obviously was the better option.
Yep.
We'll
never know.
Yeah.
But regardless, 1 for 1 on prediction so far. So now we move on to tight end. And to no surprise to anybody, Sam Laporta somehow made the team. Kind of shocking there.
Squeezed in there.
We got Brock Wright. Who?
Brock.
Who?
Right.
Yeah, there we go. And then, unfortunately, Lyle, you were wrong. Zane Zylstra made the cut. One of the 3 tight ends on the roster. I put
myself out on a limb there. I thought it was a chance.
Yep. Two notable people missing from that list. You have fullback tight end Zach Horton, cut from the 53-man, as well as how do you pronounce the name? Kenny Yeboah.
Oh, yeah, Kenny Yeboah, yes.
Yep, he's hurt, out for the season, unfortunately. But, yeah, so I think relatively, besides that Shane Zylstra, once again, Horton made the practice squad. We'll talk about that shortly. But, yeah, any comment on the tight ends? I think, once again, another position group, you're not too shocked. I mean, the top two guys you figured were going to be on the team, but.
Here's another situation where the Lions get a little healthier because Sam Laporta, I think, was beat up a lot of last year.
He played the first half of the season.
And rumor is he's had a great camp, so I look forward to him having a really good year. And I think Brock Wright is a really underrated tight end. The guy, I think, runs like a 4.5, 4.6 or something like that.
And he's
as
a blocking tight end, yeah.
Yeah, and he can catch the ball too. And I think that's important too. Is he might get a lot more playing time just because they might need an extra blocker. Yep. Is it going to be like two running backs, two wide receivers, or just one wide receiver even, and then you got two tight ends? I mean,
we're going back to the 1950s. What's going on with that?
They're talking about the two running backs, but anyway, that group's going to be good. I love that. Zylstra is a good pass catcher as well.
Yeah. Josh and I have our brother Josh and I have a running joke with Brock Wright. When he's your fifth option or sixth option on offense, what happens? You win the football game. So, shout out New York.
Here's the thing, man. Brock Wright is Dan Campbell.
He is Dan Campbell.
He is Dan Campbell reincarnated, man.
Yeah. And then Shane Zylstra, rest in peace, not dead, just on a different team. He's fat, Dan Campbell. So, but yeah, so, Lyle, any thoughts on the tight ends real briefly? Obviously, probably heartbroken that your prediction was proven wrong.
Yeah, I'm not heartbroken. Shane O'Mac, you're my man. I'm glad that you're on the team. We were just looking for somebody that could be a surprise cut. It wasn't one of those things. It's not like I don't want you on the team, man. You've done what you're supposed to do. You've earned your stripes here, and welcome and hoping to see you get out there in a role and carve yourself out a few more tutties.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to offensive line. Up until probably this year has probably been the strength of this team. Not that I think it's a weakness, but I do think it has probably the single position group that has the biggest question mark to it. To no surprise, Taylor Decker on the team, Christian Mahogany, presumed starting guard right there on the team, Graham Glasgow, currently going into week one as our center, depending on how healthy he is. Tate Radledge, second-round pick out of Georgia, made the team. Penei Sewell, some guy named Penei Sewell made the team. Definitely not the best tackle in football. Yeah. And then some of these guys that I may have trouble pronouncing their names, Coyote Awasika.
Who did good things last year.
Yep. So a pretty competent backup, I would say. Giovanni Manu, project out of the University of British Columbia in Canada. You have Jamarco Jones, new addition to the team, as well as Kingsley Aguakin. Thank you. I think the only one I really want to make a notice, there's a couple noticeable cuts, but I think the big one that I think we'll all focus on is Dan Skipper. Fan favorite.
Again, on the practice squad, it's a maneuver. It's not. It's not really a cut. Meeks wasn't.
So
really
we'll talk
a cut.
about the practice squad later, Brad. You're jumping too far ahead. You're ruining the segment.
Well, there's no surprise why they did it. It's not a surprise.
Brad.
What was that?
The reason they call him Breaking Brad.
Breaking Brad. So I think the biggest thing with I think the Skipper one is there are a lot of reports that Jamarco Jones was outperforming him in camp. So I think that's the short term answer to why Jamarco Jones was left on the 53 and Skipper was cut. I think he is a fan favorite. He was kind of a, swing lineman that would kind of jump around the line, go in as an eligible tackle. But generally, there is a lot of question. He's clearly not a starting caliber tackle in this league. And he was having, a fairly rough camp. As Brad did allude to, he did end up making the practice squad, clearing waivers. But I think once again, that kind of shows where Dan Skipper is a Dan Campbell kind of guy. Shows a lot of grit, but I don't think a lot of the other teams see that. And, there is an argument that a guy who's starting to get a little bit older, I think he's entering his 9th year in the league, I believe. I don't know if he's ever made a 53-man. Maybe last year he did. I think so.
I think last year was the first time.
He made the 53-man. But, yeah, so I think, once again, you're always trying to get better. And getting him on the practice squad, I'm not going to complain. He's going to get bumped up to the active squad at some point. But, Brad, do you have any thoughts on the offensive line? Forgot to mention Justin Herron and Colby Sorsdahl, both injured out for the season. So Any thoughts, Brad, on the offensive line? I think most of those names are. I don't think any of us are that, once again, shocked at those names. I think Skipper is the only one that maybe made Lions fans take a step back for a second. So.
I'll just say that a couple of the key guys on that list, I think, are one Ratledge. Mm-hmm. Is he the real deal? And it sounds like he is. It sounds like him and Sewell are working really well together. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Glasgow, you want to see him do well at center, but we know who he is. I don't think he's going to be great, and I don't think he's going to be bad. So, and then the other guy, other thing is, can Decker and Sewell stay healthy? Because if one of those guys goes down, I think that's a big, huge loss on that line. And if for a running football team, that's going to be tough. But as long as those guys stay healthy, I see this line being, it's like I recently, you look at this roster and you say, oh, there's no holes. And, but the offensive line. Well, the offensive line, I think, was still ranked preseason like top 6, top 10.
Yeah.
They're still a pretty darn good offensive line.
I would still put them in the top 10, top 15 at the bare minimum, but I don't think they're no longer the top 3, top 3 offensive line going at least going into week 1. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, but look at the Chiefs; they're a Super Bowl contender. I think they were ranked like 19th or 20th offensive line. It's not like that's gonna. We didn't lose Gibbs. We like last year we lost Hutchinson. We didn't even lost Gibbs or St. Brown. Again, knock on wood. But I just look at this as. This group is a pretty darn good offensive line, and I think they're really getting. I bet they're getting pretty ticked off with all the media talk about them that they're not good because they're good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Lyle, any thoughts?
Yeah, just on the Skip side of things, again, it just I think the only reason that they would have not kept him on the 53 and not cut him and brought him back here is to save Skipper's pride. Mm-hmm. And, Skipper, he's just a better man than that. He's going to be like, okay, it happens. It's the business.
He's a professional, yeah.
Yeah, so he's, he comes back on the practice squad. He's going to be up again. They're going to bring him up. That there's going to be an injury somewhere along the line where he's going to have to come up and he's going to be a part of the team. And then he'll be over there throwing up in the corner, and Campbell will be slapping him on the back again, telling him, "Good job, Skip.
You keep throwing up over there. Do it."
That's right.
Yeah, and then
so there's that, and then just the fact that, to me, the exciting part. Yes, it is a difficult thing to say. You're no longer the best offensive line in the league anymore. That was a pretty good mantle that they had for a while. But the exciting part of this team right now are those 2 guards right now, Christian Mahogany. He, from all reports, they're saying he is just a beast, and he's going to be something else to watch as he learns and grows. And then you got Ratledge over here, that beautiful Kentucky waterfall going on in the back. He's already showing that he's got the skills to be that guard. The question is, when he develops, is he going to be a center? Is he going to continue as a guard? But they've got, it's exciting to see that there's some youth on this team that's got some real upside right now. And maybe it is by the end of the season, people are going, you know what? The Lions are right back in that top of the line, offensive line category again.
And it won't take long, really. If they pull out 3 victories in a row, there's, people start waking up and say, yep, this is the same old Lions, right?
As of the last couple of years.
Same old Lions means it's something different these days. So.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think the biggest question mark for me, just based off of talent, is I think the guard talent is there. They just need to develop a little bit more. I think just finding the long-term solution at center, whether it's trading for a guy, whether it's drafting a guy, whether it's somebody like, Kingsley Igwakin. I'm sorry.
No, you got it. You nailed it
nice.
that
Okay,
time.
Igwakin, nice. Maybe stepping up at some point. But we'll see. We will see. So that was our offense. So I would say generally probably the single strongest part of the team.
We substitute in.
Thanks, Brady.
Tag team Tkachuk.
Yep. Brad wanted to talk about the fun stuff.
I got to get my reps too.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
I'm stealing reps from Brad.
All right. Yeah. So once again, thank you, Breaking Brad, for coming in person, talking about the offense, and breaking some news for us. Yeah. I can't hear you, Brad. The applause is too loud. Yeah, he did break in to do that. I don't know if the mic will pick that up, but he did, in fact, break in to do it. Yes. So, Josh, you were sitting out for the offense. Any quick thoughts on anything you heard? Anything? I know you've seen the 53-man a couple times at this point.
Yeah, other than like Brad ruining the next segment with talking about the practice squad. I mean, it is what we expected it to be. And
yep. I think the skipper thing, surprising, just because.
That was a surprise, yeah.
Yep. And then I think the Tim Patrick thing, although surprising, I think a lot of our worries where we would be worried about that is put to rest with seeing how well Tesla has played. And then, you think about that. What's up, Brad?
Right through the shot. Beautiful.
It's all good.
Beautiful.
Janine's going to laugh at that one.
That's saying
She's
it.
been laughing
That's-
at Dad walking behind us and Brad now walking in front of us.
It's all good.
breaking the plane.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Fourth wall, yeah.
But yeah, so I think other than that, though, seeing Tesla playing as well as he did, even with guys, admittedly worse than our starting offense, I think is put a lot of our fears to rest. And then on top of that, if you think about your third wide receiver, there's only a handful of receivers in this league that are wide receiver threes that you look out there and teams heavily rely on them because the Lions have 2 great running backs. They got a great tight end. They got a solid backup tight end and 2 damn good receivers. So I think
Who's
it's
the
one
defense going to double team?
Exactly. Once again, I brought it up before the show, and I don't know if it's going to make it to the full intro, but, in the red zone, look at all the options you got. You got Saint. You got Gibbs. You got Montgomery. You got Laporta. You got Jamison Williams. You got Isaac Tesla. You got a trick play to Penei Sewell or Taylor Decker, right? Who do you guard? You can't double team all of them.
You can't.
And guess what? If you double team all of them, guess what you do? Jared Goff just runs the 20
it up,
yards.
yeah.
Exactly. So, just what do you do? That's got to be exciting, right? Obviously the interior line, we're worried about how well that's going to perform. Brad, by the way, feel free to walk through the camera. You're totally fine.
Or you can walk behind us. That's fine, too.
Yeah.
Like Dad, he's established a pattern.
Yeah.
Oh, he's doing his armbands.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think, once again, I think I'm not too worried. It's just the interior line and how quick is the line? How quick are the Lions going to adjust to Johnny Morton's schemes, right? Because he was a part of the team, but it wasn't an internal hire like Shep where you could probably keep almost the same system and keep these guys in the system they've been playing in. So,
but you also have like the anchor,
yeah,
on that offensive line. That is, look what he's done.
Yep.
Just over the past few years, he's just. Not taking away from any of the other guys that are on that team. Sewell is the dude. He's the guy that glues that whole O-line together. I don't know what he does, but I've seen his pregame speeches. Mm-hmm. He's the only one that really gives them for that whole team. So
he's the heartbeat of the team.
Yeah, without doubt.
And we got to stay healthy on the tackles. We do.
Yep.
I just don't see. There's such a step down if either one of our tackles gets hurt right now.
Yeah. But yeah, so all right. Well, let's get into the. Hey, Dad.
Oh, okay, we're changing patterns here.
Oh, I'm I'm getting dizzy now.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about defense. I think a squad that last year probably played at a top 5 level. Do you give me bunny ears?
I don't know. Brad was over there laughing at it.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, so I think a squad that played at a top 5 level when healthy clearly has a lot of talent on there, but completely depleted by injuries last season. So let's start with the defensive line. They do not break it out by edge rushers and tackles. So I'll do my best to just quickly try and break them up myself. On the defensive end, a little shallow as far as players making the 53s, which once again, everyone here in this barn has heard me pound the table about defensive ends, but you have hopefully perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate Aiden Hutchinson. You got Marcus Davenport going into his second year with the Detroit Lions. And then you got El Quadin Muhammad, did some pretty good work, as a depth piece there. And then, so those are our edges. Defensive tackles, you got DJ Reader, one of the best in the business. You got Tyleek Williams, our first-round draft pick, played pretty darn good in the preseason, as well as sounds like he's had a heck of a camp. You have Roy Lopez, new addition to the team. You have Pat O'Connor, Eastern Michigan legend, Boo Eagles, and you got Makai Wingo, player I'm big on, as well as Chris Smith. A couple of big cuts here. Nate Lynn had a pretty good camp, so that's kind of shocking to see him off the edge. You got Miles Adam, who pass rushing defensive tackle specialist. Once again, it's a hard group to break into. You have Broderick Martin, who I predicted to not make the team. Once again, it wasn't that controversial of a pick with how strong this defensive tackle group is looking. And And then 2 more edges that we've seen some pretty good play in at times of Mitchell Agude and Isaac Ukwu, as well as Ahmad Hassanin. On a injury or on a waived on an injury settlement, but sounds like he might be back if he
as of today with Holmes. So.
Yeah, he pretty much guaranteed it.
Yep, and then you got Aleem McNeil, who'll be back sometime in the season, nursing an ACL injury. You have Levi Onwuzurike out for the season. Tweener, probably one of my favorite depth pieces as long as he's a depth piece. And then Josh Pascal, also supposed to return sometime between November and December.
Yeah, he's on a non-football injury.
Exactly, yeah. So,
is it related to the cancer thing again?
I might be.
I really don't know. There's not been a lot of talk about it. Just that they've said he's going to return, then it's going to be later than we thought, but there really hasn't been an explanation for what it is.
Yeah. We don't want to speculate too much because, especially if it's something regarding cancer, fuck cancer.
Yeah.
You can bleed me out on that one or not. But, it's out of respect, especially with how quiet it's been regarding that. I mean, we're only getting timeline updates. We're not getting any actual details, and nobody seems to know anything. But, Josh, you haven't talked yet on any of the 53-man. Any opinions on the defensive end? Or defensive line that we're keeping?
I mean, I almost want to. I know that there's still a little bit of we got to see it, but I still go to who are you going to double team?
Yeah,
I mean, like you said, the depth might be a little bit.
I think they'll double
shallow.
team Hutch. That's what I'm going to get. If not triple team.
Yeah.
Well, they did that last year, and it still didn't do too much. But they might also take him for granted with the injury. But I still say that they bionic legged him and $6 million man. Well, I don't know what he's making or what he's going to make, but
he's going to make way more than that.
Well, back then, $6 million was a lot.
Yeah.
Majors.
Not counting for inflation there. Lyle, any thoughts on the defensive line moves they've made?
Just, I'm excited about the middle of this defense more so. The fact that you're going to have DJ Reader more than a year removed from that major injury, and he looks a lot fresher and ready to go. You got Tyleek Williams, a first-round pick that looks very solid, and I cannot wait until we get Aleem McNeil into that mix. If we can both of those players are still healthy and Aleem comes back, I think you're going to see that's such a devastating trio right there. I think you're really going to see something special so that, we at least have, if we're worried about, who's on the other side from Hutch or whatever, we're going to have that push up the middle that's going to really devastate, I think, a lot of offenses out there. I'm just hoping that Aleem is coming back soon. They said he's hopefully, coming back a little sooner than they expected. And wow, that's going to be the time that I think that we're really going to be a force to be reckoned with once that happens.
Yeah, they really lean, especially in their sets, and just once again, for some reason, Brad Holmes just really does not want to go out and get edges. But they really lean into their defensive tackles and expecting them to pass rush and help to prevent those double teams on Hutch. So there should be enough talent there to bide the time to where hopefully Aleem McNeil doesn't feel like he has to rush back, because I think we'd all want him at 100%, not 90%. But yeah, so let's move on to linebackers. A position of slight controversy this offseason with the Alex Anzalone kind of almost inability up until a couple weeks ago to settle on a deal. But on the roster, on the 53-man, we got Jack Campbell, Captain Jack. We got Alex Anzalone, Thor. Derek Barnes off a really big contract. We have a new addition, Grant Stewart, as well as Zach Cunningham, and then Saginaw Valley State legend Trevor Nowaski making the 53-man. Noticeable cut, Anthony Pittman signed with the Lions back in, I think, 2019, special teams guy. And then obviously you have Malcolm Rodriguez, who had that ACL injury coming back late in the season. And then most recently lost Ezekiel Turner as well, I believe, for the full season. So, Josh, any thoughts on the linebacking core?
No, good to see, the deal with Anzalone happen. Derek Barnes coming back, that's huge. Obviously, huge play against Tampa Bay. And the rest of the season too. But it's those key moments that everybody focuses on. But Stewart, I tell you what, I think was Janine saying let's put him back to back with Rory to figure out who's got the poofier hair.
Yeah, the bigger mane.
The bigger mane. There you go.
Who's the bigger mane?
Yeah. But, I'm excited to see what they can do. In the offseason, it sounded like Campbell pretty much said that Campbell was, it was his defense. So that was before the Anzalone deal. But at the same time, that's good for that to know they have that faith and trust in somebody that young that can take over those reins when the time comes. And I completely forgot about Captain Jack. So now we got Thor's hammer and we got Captain Jack's.
Captain Jack,
yeah. So we're going to be working in some
props and
goofball
some
props.
stuff.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Lyle, any thoughts on the linebackers?
Just really excited. I mean, I think that's a top 5 linebacker core there with the 3 across the front, and then having Grant Stewart. I mean, just a fantastic preseason for that guy. I mean, he came out
minus
here
that fumble against the Chargers.
I mean, even that though, he's a linebacker returning kicks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible.
And he did bust one out in the final one.
He did. Yeah,
He
that
did.
was a highlight I missed there. Yeah,
that?
he
That was
right
crazy.
up the middle, and he was one shoestring tackle away from breaking that thing. I'm telling you,
That'd be electric if he
is-
returns a kick for a touchdown.
he is awesome to watch out there. And he's going to be a back up there. And then when you get Rodrigo are we watching the cricket? Is this what we're watching here? We're watching Brad kick the cricket.
Yeah.
God, we are really inside the barn.
If you have the cameras going on in here, please pull that up and play that as we're talking, please.
And then our new segment, Brad kicked the cricket.
Yeah.
Brad,
Raking Brad the cricket.
Brad plays cricket, not the way you think.
Yeah. You won't believe how it ends. But yeah, I think here's another thing to get excited about. Sorry to interrupt, Lyle.
Yeah.
But imagine you replace Cunningham or even Nowoski with healthier Malcolm Rodriguez. Then you're like,
That's where I was going.
holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just, sorry.
I think
Sorry to
it's
steal that, buddy.
No, it's fine. It's a fantastic linebacker core, and that's what I'm saying. I think when we look at this defense, everybody's, especially today, focused on that one defensive
I'm always
end.
focused on it.
Yep.
I'm that guy.
But
So
look at every other position on this defense. It is stacked.
you don't see weakness, and you don't see it being shallow, and that's something I think is the one thing that I can begrudgingly eventually accept about not having a really good defensive end opposite of Hutchinson, or at least a solid defensive end. Davenport should be that guy, but can he get through a full season, or can we even get 14 games out of him? But so let's move on to some position groups that I think historically have been some of the worst on our team, but now maybe one of the very best. So we'll talk about defensive backs. They do not split them up by position here on DetroitLions.com. However, we talked about it a lot, about some of our new additions, and some of these guys did end up making the team, including a probably future barn favorite. But there's a lot of versatility here that I'm really excited about that hopefully should make it a little easier, barring any future injuries, because injuries do happen in the NFL. But so you have new addition DJ Reed, probably cornerback 1. I saw him lock down Saint in those practices, and that's not something people can do. You have Terrion Arnold going into his second year, fresh off an injury, also looking good. You have Amik Robertson. Those born in the dirt can't be put in the dirt.
Right.
Also, for short stature, if you can lock down Justin Jefferson twice a year, take my money. Then you have probably the best safety duo in football. No surprise, Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. Kirby Joseph coming off his first All-Pro, and Brian Branch, I think my prediction is will be an All-Pro this year. Then you got a little bit of depth here. You got soon-to-be barn favorite Rock Yassin, as well as Avante Maddox from the Eagles made the team, as well as a special kick returner, as well as special teams starring Khalil Dorsey. Some noticeable cuts, anchors down apparently. Ian Kennelly didn't make it. Lauren Strickland had a hell of a game against the Texans. Unfortunately, Maurice Norris had that horrific injury against Atlanta. Did not make the team, as well as Nick Whiteside. And then Eric Hallett, I know that you mentioned him a bunch. And then two guys that I was really hoping to see this season, Ennis Rakestraw, second-round pick last year, out of Mizzo. I was really hoping for that because I was really big on him, as well as Dan Jackson, out of Georgia's seventh-round pick. He was on track to be probably a special teams stud, maybe even potentially taking someone like Khalil Dorsey or, another job from one of the other linebackers. But, so defensive backs, that's safeties and corners. Once again, I love seeing this roster. I love seeing this defensive back room. To me, it's crazy to have a defensive back room that good. Josh, do you have any thoughts on that? I know I added a lot to that. But.
I think we're missing one huge piece. It's kind of coming out of left field, but we have Reed. We have Reader. Mm-hmm. When are we getting Reedist?
That's true. Reedus, yeah.
I mean, we got to complete that.
There's a
Norman Reedus,
there.
right? You get Norman Reedus on the team, right?
Daryl Dixon out there.
Shout out Walking Dead. Haven't watched that show in years.
Man, you think
finished.
You think that Brian Branch can hit hard? Wait till you see a player get hit by a crossbow.
That's true. That's true. But no, dating ourselves there. A couple years too late.
All kidding aside, we've got a lot of parents on, so. Yeah,
Josh's section, very fortunate to sit in a lower bowl section that somehow always tends to have friends and family of the team.
That's great.
Sitting around.
I got to talk to Leaf's mom just before he came back from injury, so that was good to get some encouraging words from her that he was coming back. So, but actually, what I meant is we have some parents on the field of other like quarterbacks.
Oh,
that's all that.
Oh, okay.
Little stretch.
Somebody's dad.
Yeah.
Out there.
Curb the dad.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Kirby Joseph, father to Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers. But I mean, exciting. Dating us again. Going back to the day. Slay. Diggs. You had one or two of those guys.
Yeah, Quandre Diggs. You had. Oh my God, who am I blanking on? Oh, Glover Quinn.
Glover Quinn. Yes, thank you. I knew that. Breaking Brad.
What was that, Dad? Was it Glover Quinn? The guy you got an autograph with?
Yeah, I was going to say, he gets a lot of autographs.
Yeah. Well, sorry, at the training camp.
Yeah, we'll have to have Dad on for the special
talk about autograph
of
stuff.
the memorabilia episode.
Yeah, I got a cool little Billy Sims story from back in the day.
I got a couple of them too.
Yeah, that's true.
Great guy. But yeah, I mean,
I interviewed Benny Blades once.
Oh, you did?
Nice.
For my school newspaper.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have the notes?
Yeah. No, I don't have the notes anymore.
Oh, damn. Yeah, Lyle, any thoughts on the defensive back room? Little tangent there.
Yeah. Okay, get back to that. Okay. Again, just the starting lineup on this, like you said, best starting safety tandem in the league. You've got one cornerback that is established, and I mean, we lost Carlton Davis, and we're like, oh man, we lost Carlton Davis, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we got DJ Reed. That's even better. I think that's an upgrade there. Terrion is a year older, and you can see he's got that swagger, man.
Yeah.
He's just ready to play. I think he's ready to go. And then you got Amik Robertson, who is the perfect guy for this defense in that nickel corner position, can bump outside, like you said.
Plays good on the outside, too.
He's
being 5'8". He plays
Louisiana Tech. He's a dog, man.
Yeah,
he's a dog. And he'll cover Justin Jefferson as much as you want him to. And
I do hope that if the secondary is entirely healthy, I do hope they let him play just freaking man guard Justin Jefferson the entire game. That's all I want. I don't care. Just please keep him on Jefferson. Let DJ Reed shut down Addison and let Terrion do his thing.
Yeah, just roam around out there and pick up anybody else that's needed at that point. It's just exciting. It's a great lineup, and as long as they can stay healthy, there's no reason that they can't be considered one of the top secondaries in the league.
Absolutely, yeah. I think regardless, we talked about the defense. We look at the roster spots, and you brought it up. Just such a deep defense in everything but that defensive end. Mm-hmm. And as long as those defensive ends can stay healthy, that should be fine.
That's the question, right?
Because we have depth. We have the versatility, right? Rock Ya-Sin and Avonte Maddox, Brian Branch, and Amik Robertson can all play multiple positions. I'm sure most of those guys could play multiple positions, but the fact that, if a corner gets hurt, Rock Ya-Sin, Avonte Maddox can step in. If safety gets hurt, one of those guys can step in as well. And obviously Brian Branch can play everywhere because he is just unreal. Maybe the single best football player on the team, I would even dare say. But, yeah, it's just an exciting team. And then last but not least, we have special teams.
Lock it down.
Lock it down. Kicker, Jake Bates, no surprise there. Punter, Jack Fox, best punter in the NFL. No surprise there. And then Hogan Hatton, long snapper. Tim 20-man made a note, and this is kind of interesting because I didn't realize it, even though I never saw anything about it. The Lions have never brought in competition at either of these 3 spots all offseason. All 3 are premier players at their positions heading into this season. I think, obviously Don Malbach, name drop, long snapper, right? The GOAT.
Yep.
I think we're all surprised when we let go of him at some point. Granted, he was getting a little older. I think he was 15 years in the season. I might be wrong there. And obviously we've been trying to solve our kicker problem since Hansen left. So, Jack Fox. And
real quick note on Don, though.
Yep.
Humble guy.
Yep.
Calvin always called him a GOAT.
Yep.
And through a couple friends, we were able to get his signature on a football.
That's awesome.
And so he says, the kid we know really, really likes you, and he wants your autograph. He goes, why does he want my autograph? So you're the GOAT, man. So. Yep.
All right, so I'll quickly break down the practice squad. I mean, we heard kind of throughout reading it, a list of names. But here's our practice squad as of right now. They may be missing a player or two, so Lyle, if you hear a name off the practice squad that isn't currently there, I know we did pick up some players this week.
Right.
I don't know if any major players of consequence, but regardless, they are signed to the practice squad. You got defensive lineman Miles Adams, wide receiver Ronnie Bell, center Tristan Colin. Picked him up in the offseason. Defensive line, Keith Cooper. Defensive back, Eric Hallett. Tight end / fullback, Zach Horton. Wide receiver, Tom Kennedy. Right, Dad? TK85. Wide receiver, Jackson Meeks. Glad to see him back in the practice squad. Offensive line, Mason Miller. Offensive line, Michael Neese made it. He's been, constantly brought up and down for the last couple of seasons.
Real quick on that one, too. So one of the games that Carter was at, his family asked him to take
a picture of them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
And so he was talking to me the other day. He goes, how crazy would it be if the photo that I took is somewhere on their mantle?
It might be. It might be. And then a couple of players I think we're pretty excited to hear on the team. We got linebacker Anthony Pittman. He's probably going to be brought up from time to time for special teams. Running back Jacob Saylors made the practice squad, which is great.
That was good to see.
Safety Lauren Strickland. I think he was a guy that a lot of people thought until Rock Yassin really showed out. Offensive lineman, Dan Skipper. Awesome. And then last but not least on Tim 20-man's list, you have defensive end, Isaac Ukwu. I'm glad to see him on the team. Nice to know we have a role player that can step in, barring an injury or something like that. Lyle, I know there's a couple names missing if you want to drop those real quick.
Well, and again, we're going to talk about some of the players that got picked up, and they're actually on the 53 right now because they were taken through waivers. You've got Tyrus Wheat was a player from I believe the Cowboys.
Yep.
That,
defensive end,
that is actually on the 53 right now because he was picked up on waivers from the Cowboys. The other one, Tyus, I can't think of his name, the other defensive lineman from the Jaguars.
Oh, yeah.
He's somebody that was a 4th-round pick.
You started a handful of games for him, too.
Yeah, and he's got some experience in there, so he's a defensive lineman, more of that
Tyus
tweener.
Jones.
Tyus Jones, thank you. Defensive lineman, defensive tackle, defensive end, tweener kind of a guy that they've got there. And then they also got the safety, Jackson's his last name, that's also from the Jaguars. And he's more of a special teams guy, but can play safety in a pinch. He's familiar with Deshae Townsend, who is the secondary coach for the Detroit Lions. So there's some familiarity there. So those are 3 players that they added through the waiver wire. I do know that just a couple hours ago, they also signed to the practice squad Andre Carter, who was a defensive end for Army. And I think he led the NCAA in sacks last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I'm not sure which year he came out. So he's on the practice squad. So that's somebody else they added to the practice squad there. So filling it out, and right now, again, 52 men on the active roster. So there's still one spot available right now that I think, Brad Holmes had a press conference this morning and was talking about he likes kind of having that flexibility and figuring out what he wants to do there. And then they have filled out that practice squad as well. So I think barring one more player coming on to the active roster, I think we've pretty much got our team set for week 1.
Yeah, and I think the elephant in the room, not white elephant. That's for a couple months from now.
Yeah.
But I think the elephant in the room at the end of the day, too, is with that 53rd spot on the roster, I think all of us would love to see Zadarius Smith signed to that. I think we're all hopeful that'll happen, especially after this after this major shakeup by the Packers and Cowboys this afternoon. But I know that as of last night, there are reports that there have not been any major communication between Brad Holmes and Zadarius Smith. So I'm if that is the case, I'm hoping that this caused Brad Holmes to pick up the phone and talk to Z. But, as of right now, as of information that we know, hope to be proven wrong here. Maybe by the time we're done recording, hopefully maybe some cool announcement will be made, but I highly doubt it. When you have these NFL guys, they're professionals. They have families to take care of. They have things that they want to do, and their careers can be over like that. So they should, in my opinion, I know a lot of people complain, they just want money. I'm like, yeah, of course they want money. We all need money, right?
Their careers are mostly a decade.
Yeah,
right. Maybe
not
a little
even.
over.
Average is 3 years.
Yeah, so they gotta set themselves up. But the ultimate line, in Brad we trust.
In Brad we trust.
Not breaking Brad. But
I don't know. I trust.
I trust him too.
He's a good dude.
Yeah,
He's a good dude.
Nothing.
Love you, Brad.
I gotta say, okay, if and we're predicting things, and I'm not a soothsayer. I'm not anything like that. Yeah. If this goes badly, and let's say the Packers end up going on a run here, I know. I'm just saying, and the Lions don't perform the way that they want to. I think that might be the start of some people starting to question Brad Holmes. I really do think it's going to happen. And is it fair? It's probably not fair at that point. Mm-hmm. But I think you'll start to hear some of them people come out, well, why didn't Brad make a move like this? Look at what the Packers did. And, again, I don't know if the Lions are going to win the Super Bowl. I don't know if the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. I don't know if, the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl again because Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged.
Yeah. Take his under, by the way. Take his unders. But yeah, so I think another thing that I think Lions fans need to get in their heads. There's two big things about this season. I think we're going to see, as far as the regular season goes, I think we're going to see a regression. The reason for that, we have, I think, the toughest schedule in football. I think we're playing, I would say, every single top team in the league except for the Buffalo Bills this year. We played them last year. And the Lions won 15 games last year. They somehow did with guys off the street playing defense. And the Lions could win 13 games, and some team will be like, they're not as good. 13 games is a lot of games to win. That is a lot of games to win.
A regression, 14-3. I mean, we're talking.
Ooh, the Lions win only 10 games, then I would say, hey.
But back then, 10 games was like, yeah.
Hey, back then, 10 games got you a playoff spot. I don't know if that's the case anymore, which is crazy. But, yeah, I think that's something I would love to see the Lions go 17-0 and eventually win a Super Bowl. I'd love to see them. I just want to see them in the playoffs. They are a good enough team. They're going to have some growing pains with new coordinators. They got to figure out the interior of their offensive line. They got to stay healthy is the big thing. But the talent's there. Dan Campbell's there. The culture and the grit is there.
The fans are going to be there. So the biggest thing is we're most likely going to see some regression, and I think Lions fans have to understand that because we're playing, I think every single top quarterback in the league except for Josh Allen, last year's MVP.
And here's the thing, guys. We'll be able to know because I think that at the end of last year we knew that there was, we were 15-2.
We were on borrowed time.
I think we knew that there were some questions, some holes. If we get to the end of the year this year and we're sitting there at 11-6 or 12-5 or whatever it ends up being, but you can feel, okay, we don't have the holes that we had last year. The defense is a little healthier. The offense is humming.
Something to prove going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that regression is a term only for the record, and it's not necessarily going to be about what the team is at that point.
And the regular season last year was more successful than the season before, and yet we made it further.
Right.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yep.
Sometimes it's, I bring up my 2010 Williamston High School football team, lost in the state finals.
Two plays would have changed that game.
Yep. So, but I'm talking specifically, that was a team that had a college-sized offensive line for a graduating class of 140 kids, which is crazy. Some really good players on that team. But they lost midway through the season to a division rival, Lansing Catholic. That was their only loss prior to the state finals. And then we ended up playing Lansing Catholic, I believe, in the district region or the district semifinal game, which is the first playoff game for us. We smacked them. It was sometimes you just need a loss or maybe a handful of losses that can really propel a team forward. And this Lions team has enough grit to it, right? Jan Campbell made it a part of the team. It's okay if we lose a couple games. It is okay. It is not panic. You don't hit the panic button being, 13-4, 12-5, right? Because that should be enough to get you in the playoffs. And all you need is a ticket to the dance to win the dance-a-thon. Hot feet would know.
And the nice part about that, too, how the season plays out is where the bye week lands. We're not early. We're not too late. We're just smack dab, roughly in the middle.
Week 8, I think.
Yeah, so it's, that bye week sometimes is, the next week you see a little step back just because people are a little too rested. I'm speaking for them because, I know. Anyways,
we're experts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like to pretend to
That's
be.
why we're here. That's why we're on this thing, right?
That's right, yeah. I mean, if you're not listening to us, I don't know what your problem is. But anyways, so I think having that where it is in the season helps out. And, like you said, tough schedule. But, this team is just that difference that we haven't seen in the past few decades. They rise to that challenge. They want, those games. And, for them to have that kind of hunger, I think that's, the whole grit mentality, the whole, the culture, the fans buying into it, it's really reshaping Detroit. I think the Tigers kind of propelled off of that, and doing what they needed to do. So it's just changing things. It's different.
Outside the team, inside the barn, this is our town, this is our turn. No more losses, no more pain. Detroit Lions breaking the chain. Outside the team, inside the barn, Motor City Fire.
And we got our dad, Steve, back on the podcast another week. Dad, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Doing good. Hold on, let's change
that
that up.
mic up a little
There we
bit.
go, just like right there. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, yeah. So got almost done with your workout. We had your son's being horrible sons had to interrupt you to bring you on the podcast. Dad, how did you enjoy the Zoltar machine last night?
Oh, him and me are buddies.
Yeah.
I actually give him some advice at times too.
Okay, nice. So
Give me the ticket.
is that why those children ran screaming away when you were?
Yeah,
done?
yeah.
I'm kidding. All right, yeah. So once again, I think everyone's favorite segment. I know my friend Sam's. Once again, shout out. Favorite segment. We got Steve's crazy play of the game. Dad's crazy play of the game. Obviously, we don't have a game this week, right? We're in the middle of that transitionary period from preseason to the regular season. Big roster cuts made, practice squad established. Do you have any interesting plays, maybe additions?
I talk in generalities right now because I can see the things that I have ideas for improvement to happen many times during the game. When the games start happening, then maybe
That's when the juices flow.
But I have some ideas to
Okay.
throw your way.
Let's hear it.
Well, first of all, being the front office for NFL are wimps.
Yep.
They're either twiddling their
around.
thumbs
Yep.
or got their thumb up their you-know-what because they concentrate on the poor players that are so excited about scoring a touchdown. Poor league.
So
that happened.
so you have some more thoughts on celebrations, it sounds like. Then.
No.
Oh, not this time?
No, but I don't want to forget about the idea that let the players take it over to the cheerleader, let the cheerleader spike it.
Okay.
And
Running
if,
it back.
And then if they're wimpy enough to fine the cheerleaders, then let the player pay the fine. That's it. But I don't want to let these things go. And then when you watch a game, the refs are watching the Lions like hawks. And so we thought maybe if they had a hypnotic session, they might
that
be
was last
more.
week, I think. Yeah.
What's this wee stuff, Kimosabi?
They might
Okay, mister, I want to steal the bean.
call it more equal. So I don't want to let those things get away. But first of all, before anything, I want to do a shout out to the Red Cross.
Okay.
My idea is the Lions are going to be favorable towards the Red Cross and give blood once the game is over.
Okay.
So them and their families can give blood when the game's over, win or lose. And then the opposing team them and their families can give blood before the game.
Oh, okay. So weakening them.
It might.
Did I ever tell you my story about giving blood before a football practice, Dad? I got reamed one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because senior year, so, I didn't have any cords or any cool stuff at graduation, but I'm like, I can get a red cord, for donating 3 times. Donated once. My defensive coordinator, not very happy with me because it was the day before a game and we had to go through, like, walkouts and stuff, even though it was a pretty less intense practice because they didn't want to beat us up before a game. I got in trouble for that one, and then every other one happened when I was doing some theater stuff right before a play, like during play weekend, and I'm like, I can't really afford.
So it takes a little bit out of you.
It does. This guy right here in the
I do it every 6 weeks.
The Tigers orange, it does it every 6 weeks. So,
anyways, Lions after the game, the opposing team before the game.
Okay.
And the Red Cross benefits, and it helps a lot of people.
Yeah, so you're saying that if the other team doesn't want to give blood, then they're bad people not helping out people.
Well, the Lions could help
them.
They're
sourpusses is what they are.
The Lions could help them throughout the game to give some blood.
Yeah.
Smack them around a little bit.
Yeah. Give Hutchinson a little bit of, give him one unblocked path to the quarterback.
There's one thing that we haven't accounted for. Maybe Dan Campbell's a vampire.
That's true.
He could be.
That's true. Conspiracy theory roots coming out, Josh. There.
Anyways,
it's not coffee that he's drinking.
That's my
Tiger's blood.
He's
a winner.
Winning.
Yeah, winning. Yeah.
That's my plug for the Red Cross.
Shout out Ricky Vaughn.
Let's get more people giving blood.
Yeah.
Okay. Today's thoughts are.
I thought that was.
No, that was yesterday's
That's
thoughts.
a commercial.
That's a commercial.
That's a commercial.
Okay. All right.
Red Cross.
This one comes from the fact that we had parties, thanks to Josh, for games, and we had one individual that was the hero for the game, and I can't remember who he played, but the time for the kick, and he took the big fan.
San Francisco.
San Francisco, and so Tyler Brown was the big hero. He took the fan over and affected the ball, the kick. So that idea comes into a new one, and the hero star is Rory.
Rory needs a big industrial fan, huh?
Rory will be given an iPad and 2 drones, and the drones will be invisible. And now he'll be using the iPad throughout no matter where he's standing at the game. And so if you remember John Madden, when he would explain a play, he would take his finger and go against the screen. Well, Rory is going to learn how to use these drones to affect the kick. When it's ours, it blows it in as good. When it's theirs, it blows it out. No good for them. And that can be used also for touchdown passes. Now, he can manipulate it where the ball's close to their receiver, and he can blow it away from them. And the ball's a little bit off for our receiver, he blows it to him. And
defenders can knock the ball down, stuff like that.
Yep.
So effectively, Rory does have those big old paws.
That's true.
He's got those big old paws.
Right. So Rory's going to be a big hero in this. And the only thing that I could say with a play, and I hope this happens more than once, is then when he zeroes in on a referee that's going to make a penalty call against the Lions, he's going to blow the guy's hairpiece if he has one. Blow it off. And
they usually wear hats.
Well, blow the hat off too.
Okay.
Anyways, and that happens in front of national TV, and if he can figure it out, have him blow the zipper down and the referee's pants falls down in front of the whole nation.
Did you give blood before you came here?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Why?
All right.
You can see the marks a little bit.
All right. So,
but anyways, the play of the game really is what Rory can do with his machinery. 2 drones. I think they only bought 2 for him. And an iPad that he can use his finger to manipulate. You know, he can manipulate the ball, or he can come up with a breeze of air like Tyler Brown did for us. And I hope we see that more than once.
All right. Sounds good. So Lions taking a page from New England's playbook and cheating. I like it.
Well, I don't look at it cheating, because all he is playing around
on an iPad. And
on
just so
an
iPad, the drones
and
blow air.
if it happens like that, no one will know the difference because these drones are invisible.
Just pay them some Ford money, you know.
Well, what about just taking what the government has with their drones, the pigeons, and using the pigeons?
Yeah, all birds are dead.
Yep.
All died in 1954. Yep. All right.
So that's Steve's say-so today.
All right. That was Dad's crazy play of the game. Lions. Rory's going to have a drone with fans on it. So, all right. Well, that was episode -1 of Outside the Den, Inside the Barn. I'm Jake. That's Josh. That was Lyle and Brad. This is Dad. Thank you so much for watching our preseason shows. Looking forward to kicking off next week with our Week 1 preview show against the Green Bay Packers to kick off the 2025 NFL season. Once again, thank you again for watching. Please subscribe to the new channel. Follow our socials. They'll be linked in they will be linked in the description below. But once again, one pride, go Lions. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. That's right.
Podcast over. Signing off tonight. Wyatt Intimation. Everything's alright. Oh, Jet, school. Decided right tonight. Lions Nation, everything's alright.